Hi, Becca Lynn. Welcome to the lily pad. It's been a really rough week this week for all of us. We've definitely hit the doldrums in the quarantine, social distancing life that we are all living in all over the country and all over the world. It's not just us. This COVID-19 virus is taking its toll not only on people physically, but our mental health and our friendships and society. It's really rough out there for everybody. And I couldn't help but think about the movie Muppets Treasure Island. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but there's a scene in it where they're stuck in the doldrums. Sailors of old, they would sail from Europe into the New World, or all over the planet at the time that they knew. And there would come a time when the wind would stop and there would be no wind, and they would call it the doldrums, and the ship would just sit in the middle of the ocean, and they would look around, and all they would see for miles was ocean horizon and no real way of telling what day it was or the time the rhythm had stopped. And the ocean would be quiet, and there would be little like lake laps against the boat, but there weren't the waves. There was no rhythm to the sea. It was just still. And it didn't take very long for the sailors to begin imagining things, because our brains are wired for connection and learning to do the same thing every day. It's not what our biology is made to do. We are made to learn and to interact every day. And so what sailors would end up doing in brain and coping is it would begin imagining things. The sailors would see kraken. They would see mermaids. They would hear songs out in the waves, and sometimes they would jump into the siren song. They would jump after the mermaids to find freedom, because they felt like they were trapped. They felt like there was no hope. And it's the way I've really felt like this entire week has been. We've been stuck in this Muppets Treasure Island scene where some of us are singing a song and some of us are hearing a siren's call. And no one, there's no way to gauge who's hearing and who's seeing the right thing, other than it's hard. I know that for me, when I was homeschooling and mixed in with my chronic illness, there were lots of times when we would be stuck in the doldrums, whether I was really too ill to connect with them, or I was trapped in the car driving back and forth, or the kids would be sick for days, or we would have weather where we wouldn't see the sun for weeks on end, and moods would flare. There would be arguments, there would be short tempers, teeny tiny problems would become magnified things, and my solution would end up being play. So what we would do is I would sit them down, we would make a list of possibilities, what we could do, what we wish we could do, and the sky was the limit. I didn't care. It could be just as fantastical as possible. Preposterous was even better. And we would make a plan, and then we would put that plan into action, and I would weave in chores that needed to be done. I would turn on a song. By the time we were done with the song, then we would do something fun. And the something fun could be build a fort in the living room, have ice cream for lunch, raid the pantry for ingredients, and then find a recipe online that fit the ingredients that we had and made something. But the sky was the limit. And a lot of times it did feel forced. But Newton's laws of physics apply to the way that we live our lives. An object at rest stays at rest, and an object at motion stays at motion. And sometimes choice, getting us moving, is what we need to get moving. So the other thing that I would do when we were in these doldrums is I would have a daily practice of gratitude, and I would either keep a journal or a jar, depending on the length of the doldrum. And with the jar, I would have small pieces of paper next to it, and I would fill it out, no matter how big or small, shoes got put in the closet, or, big, somebody brought flowers. And I would put them in the jar, I would write them in my journal, and then on a really, really bad day, I would pull them out, or I do pull them out, and I look at them, and I remind myself of those really, really great moments. And sometimes, like right now, I'm feeling like a lead balloon. I'm struggling. I know a lot of people that are struggling. And little things like this, we're beyond that. I'm struggling to know what day it is, what time it is. It's Blur's Day. April has how many days in it? 50. So I pull out my big gun practices. So what those look like is I start with reminding myself that feelings aren't facts. The way that I feel isn't necessarily true. So I feel isolated, I feel abandoned, I feel trapped, I feel subjected, I feel held hostage, I feel like I'm on the edge of an economic collapse, I feel like I'm facing financial ruin. It doesn't mean that it's true. What the facts are is this is a highly contagious respiratory flu. It's so new, science is learning something new about it every day. It is difficult to treat because there's so many unknowns. The fact is it could kill my neighbor and I wouldn't know. The medical system is asking for me to do my part to slow the spread. And the fact is, staying home, wearing protective gear, observing social distancing is a public service to myself, to my neighbor, and to the medical community. Those are facts. So for me, if I step out of my feelings and I look at the facts, then I'm able to put my feelings into perspective. And then I can start with asking the right questions, which are, what is it that I need? I need connection. So how do I get connection? Well, I can make a phone call. I can start a conversation on social media. I've seen people throw out movie things, take a picture in their surroundings and start a game. I've known of people that are starting a scavenger hunt and creating teams on social media and giving out points and doing a scavenger hunt. And that's a connection every day and a project every day. It's important that we remember we're not alone, and taking that action. For me, I've learned that if I look at what I need and I give out what I need, I often get back what I need. Sometimes it doesn't come back exactly in the same form or on the same day, but I've always found that it does come back to me. And our emotional health is important. There's the other part of marking time, this whole Groundhog Day monotony time loop that we're stuck in. So for centuries, the human race measured time by an intrinsic rhythm. People groups created systems tracking time as a community. Individuals in the community produced products. You had your tanners and your blacksmiths and your tailors and all of those. And then they would trade within the community for mutual benefit. It was all cooperative. What changed that was the Black Plague, which started in 1361 and finally ended in 1666. It devastated the economy. Farms laid empty. There was famine. So all of these people began to gather together to start creating a solution. Villages turned into cities. Tradesmen started moving towards mass production. This gave birth to the Industrial Revolution. And since necessity is the mother of invention, that's how machinery was invented. Machinery created a more affordable product, With a more affordable product, people wanted to buy more. More product meant jobs. Jobs meant people. And so more people moved into the cities, out of the villages, and this was destructive to the surviving status quo. This is where we got a lot of battle and fighting, in that farmers revolted against the factories, tradesmen attacked laborers. And here's the thing, culturally, the intrinsic reason to get out of bed and go to work shifted to be extrinsic, because we now went to a job, we went to a factory, we had to be somewhere at a certain time. Instead of getting up, going into our workshop to help the community, we got up, we went to a factory, and we worked. And now, you hear it all the time, people who retire often have a really difficult time because they've had an entire life of having a reason to get up in the morning, they leave the house, they have a way to mark the days, they have a way to mark time, and then they come home, and all of a sudden they're retired, which sounds great, but all of a sudden there's no reason to get out of bed. There's no purpose. What do I do now? And it's fun right at the beginning, like it was for us. But then there's the grind, which is where we are right now. How do we have a purpose? How do we make this work and not lose our ever-loving mind? For me, how do we regain this intrinsic rhythm? We do what people have done for a long time. We recreate our own. I remember my grandma talking about certain days had certain tasks. And all the way up through when she had had a number of strokes, didn't know what days it was, but my uncle would visit her in the home. And she always, without fail, knew when Tuesday was. Why? Because Tuesday was garbage day. Wednesday had always been laundry day. Sunday was church day. But these were the rhythms of her intrinsic life. I'm self-employed now. I'm struggling too, because it's a whole new normal for me with my kids gone. I treat all of my projects like appointments. I use a timer. I don't allow interruptions. My time is mine to manage, and I get to deem what's important and what's not important. And for me, when I consider interruptions, thing I say to them and to myself is, interruptions can take a number, and I will get to you in a minute. To mark the days, I split up my household chores as if I were working outside the home in a full-time schedule. So I have a morning list and an evening list. And then I have a 4-day, once a week list that I do. And then on the 5th day, I have a once a month swing day thing that I do. And then if I miss the day, like if it's clean upstairs day, I miss that day, I don't sweat it, because I'm going to get it the following week. So what's really great is that it still kind of sets a rhythm of that, okay, Mondays I clean my upstairs, Tuesdays I do bathrooms, Wednesday I do laundry, Thursdays, so I can mark the days. Bottom line, you need to find what works for you. There is no right, there is no wrong, but there are ways to anchor yourself in your own time, in your own universe, to make all of this feel more real, because feelings are not facts. You are the master of your own ship, and you are the master of your own life. And this season, as hard as it is for all of us, can be really great. And the wonderful thing about seasons like this is it gives us really wonderful gifts, in that after this quarantine is all over, we get to take all of these little lessons with us into our new normal, into our new future. The whole practice of gratitude, taking care of community, the people around us, understanding that time is our own to manage, not somebody else's to manage. It's mine, it's yours. Having a rhythm and being able to create your own rhythm, and also being able to find your own adventure and create your own adventure. This is what tenacious optimism looks like. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you again. Thanks for visiting the Lily Pad.